You are going to be so glad that you joined the Girl Out of Order podcast today because we have the most special guest. I am so excited to welcome Damilare Adeyeri to our podcast community. It's our first ever male guest on the podcast, and I couldn't have been blessed with a better choice to bring in his perspective on energy and dance and movement. Listen, it's the beginning of the year and we need so badly to get our bodies moving, to get our brains refreshed, to get our spirits awakened. And there's no better person than Damilare to share his incredible insights with our community. Damilare is a dynamic public speaker. He's a peak performance coach and a dance fitness professional. This man has the most unique ability to energize and inspire simply by the way he shows up. Damilare has been trained by Tony Robbins and Chloe Madonis, and he blends movement, joy, and human needs psychology principles to help people break through their limits and step into their greatness. As the former lead dancer and event energizer for Tony Robbins, he has inspired several thousands of audiences globally for over 30 events and audiences spanning 190 countries internationally. He's also completed over 3,000 individual and group coaching sessions. Damilare, because he doesn't do anything else, he's also an Ironman triathlete and this past year became a TEDx speaker. This amazing guest, I'm so excited for you to get to know my friend. He is dedicated to empowering others to live authentically and reach their highest potential. So help me welcome to the Girl Out of Order podcast, Damilare Adeyeri. And I'm sure I pronounced it wrong and he's going to correct me. Welcome to the show. Okay, so welcome to the Girl Out of Order podcast, my friend Damilare, and I'm not going to try to say your last name because I did it in the intro and I think I may have messed it up. So, welcome.
It's all right, and my name is Damilare. I tell people it's like a song, so if you can sing my name, you can say my name, Damilare. I am a coach, speaker, dance fitness instructor. I am all about joy and energy. And people who meet me and hear me and see me, see the alignment in all those three, because I'm not just joy and energy when you hear me. I am joy and energy when you see me. And I am joy and energy when you meet me. And people ask, why is that? Well, you're about to find out on the podcast today why moving your body, being in congruence with who you are, and managing your emotions all contribute to having the best energy ever that you could have. So thanks for having me here, Christine.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're here. And just to give our listeners a little context, I quote unquote met Damilare when I was able to be led by him as he was an energy leader and a dancer on stage for the Tony Robbins events. And I was so drawn into his, I don't want to use the word persona. We talked about that a little beforehand. Not the persona, had nothing to do with the persona of the stage. It was the alignment with what I could feel that you were giving out as an energy leader. And honestly, I just wanted to get to know you. And the more people I talked about you with, the more I found that people who got to know you as a person were just blown away by the positivity. And I even got my positivity mug for our interview. I got my yellow on because you are a ball of energy. And then a little bit more context before we dive in and hear more about you is I was so blessed. My husband and I were so blessed to find ourselves in Fiji for 10 days at Life and Wealth Mastery with this amazing human being, and being able to be a participant alongside you was just next level, because then I really got a chance to see you, observe you, and get to know you as a human being and not as somebody up there and separate. And that was such an honor for us.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that and putting more context. Yes, it is correct. For about 3 years, I was a lead energizer on the stage at Tony Robbins events, and a way some of my friends make a joke about it is like, how was Tony's hype man? So what that entailed was at most of the Tony Robbins events, there's music playing, there's some dancing and movement, and I led that with some other dancers in a group that we worked together with. And it was just, for me, it was more than a job. It was
Mm,
just an immersion and alignment of who I am and what I did normally, right? So prior to that, I was already a fitness instructor. I'm certified by the American Council of Exercise as both a group fitness instructor and a personal trainer. I taught Zumba. I love to dance. I dance salsa, merengue, bachata, all of that. And I just love life, right? And I'm also into personal development. I train as a coach through the Robbins Madonna's coach training. So all
mhm.
of that came together where I could help people increase their energy, boost their emotional state within a learning environment where they had come for whatever reason, right? To improve their lives, to grow
Right.
their business, whatever it is. And for me, that was fun, right? And that fun radiated out of me through joy to the people, right? Because it's like, this guy is just having a great time, you know? And that was it. And what I also loved about you, Laura, I'm gonna take a breath. Okay. What I also loved about you, Kristen, meeting me and with Sean at Fiji was the fact that you got a chance to see the guy on stage and the guy off stage and make sense of it, right? And not everybody gets a
Mm,
chance to see that. But for
right.
you, it made sense that, oh yeah, like who he is on stage, the persona, versus who I met in person, there's not a difference. He's equally as joyful, energetic.
Mm,
That's how he lives his life. And that, I imagine, was surprising to you compared to some other people who would have met. But also, too, for me, was affirming because, I tried to communicate this to people. Like, it's not a facade, it's not a fake. I'm not making this up. Like, it is possible to live with joy and energy on and off stage in your daily life, in your relationships, in your work, in everything that you
mm.
do. And you can choose that. And I love that I'm an example of that. And it's going to be part of my invitation to you today.
I love that. And I want to dial back something because I remember in Fiji when you had shared, Lauren would take shares and you had shared just some real raw struggles and challenges that you were going through at that time. And I remember in that moment feeling so um tender towards you, but also so relieved that your joy and optimism, which defines you, doesn't make you unrelatable. Because at Girl Out of Order, we are about real and raw conversations, about showing up as you are and being ready to grow, change, and transform. And I remember that day when you were sharing, and it just felt so much empathy, but also I could relate to you because sometimes, I don't know if you can relate to this or if you agree with this, but sometimes when we're doing personal development work, it can be so much relentless positivity that if you're struggling, sometimes you feel like you're failing.
Right. Right.
And when you shared that you could hold both, you could hold that positive, energetic state and still go through very human struggles, it made you more real. Does that make
Thank
sense?
you. That makes sense. That makes sense. And I have a couple examples and shares for that. The thing that comes right away is authentic identity.
Mm,
Is giving myself the freedom to be me no matter where, no matter what.
right.
Right. And so I'm able to live in the paradox of when I'm struggling, I'm struggling, you know, and I
Mhm.
could dance through the challenges. And when I'm in a peak emotional state, I could also dance through it. And actually, I have a very specific life example.
Let's
And
go.
and and part of that comes with a practice of, I would say, knowing what the circumstances and choosing how I want to feel about it.
Mm,
So September 14, 2007, my mom passed away after a long-term illness. She was
mm.
53, and that was unfortunate.
Ooh, that's my age.
Well, you're not.
I got decades. No one's
And
getting
this
rid of me.
is this is what, 17. going to 18 years ago now.
Wow.
But what was significant about it is when I heard the loss of passing on of my mom, I was so sad. I locked myself up in the room, in my mom's room, and I was crying. And while I was doing that, I put on music and I was listening to music. I am of a Christian faith, so I was listening to worship music. And I actually remember the particular song, if I can share it on the podcast, is
Yes, please.
Hallelujah, our God reigns, by
Hmm.
Hillsong United. And
Yep.
that song was just a looping and looping and looping and looping and looping. I was crying, and it was just that, okay, well, with no clear understanding of what was happening. It was like, my mom just died. I'm sad. I'm playing worship music, which makes me feel like I'm lifting up my mom's spirit to
Hmm.
God to take charge, but also creating some kind of healing for myself.
Right.
Within that state was also another contrast, which up until that point, I was in a dance competition for the Nigerian Salsa Challenge. And that evening that I heard about my mom's death, I had the regional championship competition
The same night?
that same night. That
Oh
same
no.
night. And so I was in the room sad and asking myself, well, I wasn't expecting this. Mom is dead now. What am I going to do? Am I going to be here and cry and just stay sad? Or am I going to go dance at the competition? And just for a moment, I quieted my mind and I said, what would mom have me do?
Mm.
And it was almost like I heard clearly, mom would say, Damilare, I've lived my life up until this point and I've transitioned, and I would like to see you live your life. So go out there and make me proud.
Mm.
And I felt that relief. I cleaned my face. I shook my body out and I went. And I went and I performed. And I not only won the regional championship, I ended up going all the way to nationals and was second runner up, first runner up. So my partner and I became second nationally in the close up Salsa Fresh Challenge in Nigeria in 2007. And more to share about that if I wanted to go down the full story of that. However, what was important to me was, even in a sad emotional state, or what people will
Hmm.
call a low state, I was able to pull myself out and choose a different emotion and choose a different meaning and choose a different reality to go show up and perform. And what I've learned is that to truly feel the peaks of joy, we must also be able to allow ourselves feel the depths of
Right.
sadness, right?
Right. No, I love that. And I think you and I were talking before we started recording that I just passed the 2-year anniversary of my mom's death. And I don't think we really can comprehend until grief has its way and takes its time, all of the different impacts that losing somebody that important to you, a parent, can
Right.
really have on us. And you're right. It's like, those peaks of joy and inspiration are often fueled by those valleys and those losses. Don't you think?
Exactly. Exactly. And so then when we start to recognize that the way we feel about those circumstances is connected to how we have interpreted the situation,
Hmm.
then we can choose how we want to feel. Right. So
Right.
it's natural to feel sad because I lost my mom. In that moment, I was able to also change my feeling by creating a meaning where mom talked to me and mom said, don't sit here in sadness. Go out there and make me proud.
Yeah.
That changed how I was feeling in the moment, because now I saw it more like, oh my gosh, I get to continue mom's legacy. I get to make mom proud. I get to go shine in
Hmm.
honor of mom. And so for me, even just going out to perform and dance was actually honoring my mom's passing, because now I told myself that it was not me sitting in the room crying and shutting the door that mom wanted me to be doing. Mom wanted me to be out there, right? So just that
Right.
reframing of the situation allowed me go from feeling sad and down, which I felt and experience that emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and then also being able to transition to my next state of joy and gladness while I was performing the dance.
I love that. One of the messages I know that is big for you is that positivity is a choice. That's why I chose my positivity mug for our conversation today. It looks backwards on my camera. I don't know about
It
you,
looks
but
right to me. I can see it.
does it
It
look
looks
right? Because it's
yes,
backwards
it
on
looks
mine.
right.
Well, technology is never going to be one of my top 10 talents, but I'm doing it just fine. But anyway, you say positivity is a choice. But what do you mean when you say it's a choice but not a destination? What does that mean to you?
Correct. So can I use swear words on this podcast?
Abso-fucking-lutely. We
Okay,
are
great.
really real here.
Okay, great. So by default, shit happens in life. Like there's
Mhm.
there's there's no way around it. There's no way around it. There would always be challenges in life. It's like even when you look at your ECG or EKG, whatever they call it, of your heart diagram, there are the peaks and the lows.
Mhm.
So when I come into life from that perspective, then I know that building a dream life requires resilience and optimism, right? So understanding that, then I can choose that positivity is a choice, because now it's not ignoring the challenges. No, it's about choosing my focus and how I
Mhm.
respond to that.
Right.
And this is to all your listeners right now, because it's something to really understand, that choosing positivity is basically choosing how we respond to situations in our lives, right? And there are three things that I've found to be very helpful for me. One is gratitude, you know, just understanding that when a situation happens, I can be grateful for it. It's like no matter how bad it may seem, it has shown up in my experience for a reason. What
Mhm.
can I learn from it? What is it telling me? How can I grow from it? Right. So, gratitude, which also then leads to the next one, is reframing the challenge. When I'm reframing the challenge, I'm taking the power into my own hands, because I always have
Mhm.
the power. I may not have the power over the circumstance or the situation, but I have the power over how I respond to it.
And is that in the we don't experience life, but we experience the life we focus on kind of mindset? Like we can choose. You've used the word a lot. Like I get to do this. I get to do that. It's about reframing the situation. Like I get to grieve my mom because she lived a beautiful life, and so
Right.
I'm reframing. Yes, the fact that she's gone. It doesn't take away from the fact that she's gone. That still hurts, and I get to grieve a beautiful life because the fact is she had a beautiful life. So you're kind of reframing the experience. I don't know if that's a perfect example.
That is a perfect example, and there are many descriptions we can use for it. I think the most important is to recognize that we never want to give our power away.
Mm.
Circumstances are going to
Right.
happen. What is within my threshold of control is my power, how I choose to see the situation and how I choose to respond from it. Something I've heard someone say, is that we're not a victim of circumstances, right? We become a victim of circumstances when we let those circumstances determine how we feel.
Right. Right.
By choosing to reframe the challenges, by choosing to focus on gratitude, by choosing to focus on the growth experience, learning on what I have control over, then I feel more in control. Then I can choose, then I get to choose
Mm-hmm.
my experience. And last thing I'm going to say about that, and we can go deeper. When I get to choose the emotion I experience about a situation, then I'm in a much more positive state to actually find a solution. to
Ooh,
act.
I love that. I love it. Okay, let's drill down on that a little bit. When we were talking beforehand, I had shared something I was thinking about, and I said, and I even used the phrase like, "But that's not a resourceful place to stay." And I know our friend and mentor Lauren Lahav has like said, have your 90-second tantrum, and then
Right.
get up off the damn floor and find a solution. And what I'm hearing you say is those solutions are not found in the tantrum. Those solutions are not found in the unresourceful patterns. It's when we choose that positivity, then it opens a channel for solutions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because in that tantrum, the body is in reactive mode.
Mm,
And in reactive mode, the body is in fight, flight, or freeze.
yes.
And in reactive mode, we're not in control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our nervous system goes into panic mode and say, I take over the reins. Boo, boo, boo. Pump him with some adrenaline. Pump him with some cortisol. We need to act now. He's not thinking. He has no idea what he's doing. And we need to take charge now.
Yeah, that's actually kind of that I can feel my body reacting even as you, because if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see Damilare's his whole countenance change. His face got tight, his fists got balled. I mean, that's the kind of reaction that blocks resourcefulness.
Because I'm not thinking clearly. In that moment, this is all nervous response,
Mm-hmm.
right? However, when I can take a couple deep breaths, right, and shift to my parasympathetic nervous system, a fancy word, where I'm much more calm and grounded, and I can even elevate that to a joyful state of, ooh, okay, what's going on here? Then I'm
Mm-hmm.
clear, right? Then I have my power to be able to say, this is not a reactionary kind of situation. I get to consider and respond. And that's right. It's
Mm.
in that state, that emotional state of, okay, shit just happened. I had no fucking idea how I got myself here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to own my power and respond accordingly. That
That's
is
so
how
powerful.
positivity is a choice. Yeah.
Yes, that is how positivity is a choice. And that's so powerful. And as Sean and I have been reflecting as we're kind of entering this potential empty nester this year, we're not sure exactly, but it's looking like we could go from having two at home to having none at home. And it's gotten us very reflective. And one of the things that I don't believe, I don't stay there and beat myself up for what I didn't do, but it's good to reflect on, hey, if I could have changed it, I would have done this differently so that we can help train up our children or be an example. And one of the things that I would love to change if I could, and I'm learning and I'm growing and now doing it more in my life, is responding, not reacting. And it's really challenging for personalities like me, the Woods, the Enneagram 8s, because we're challengers. We run to a challenge. Like someone cuts us off in traffic and we just get big. Or I'm a litigator, family law litigator, and somebody challenges me. I don't shy away from it. The danger with that is you go into what like you said, that fight situation, and then it cuts off the
Yeah.
resourcefulness and positivity. And I love how, shifting that to being more responsive and less reactive, it's
Yeah.
going to lead to a more compelling, beautiful, energetic life.
Yeah. Yeah. Because our power lies in the space between stimulus and response.
Hmm. I got to write that down. That's good. Say that one more time.
Our power lies in the space between stimulus and response. And
Hmm.
stimulus is anything coming from the outside. Someone said something, someone did something, a situation, a circumstance, anything from the outside,
Hmm.
right? Those are the triggers. Now, between that stimulus and how I respond to it is my power. Because the moment I've responded, then it's a reaction. If I did not within that space, choose how I wanted to respond.
I love that. And just from a practical standpoint, Damilare, it's literally creating that space by not choosing to react in the second, but even inhaling creates that space between the stimulants and the response. For example, when I'm training up witnesses to testify, and it's so, and I'm having one of those aha moments in my own life, because what I do in my profession, I need to translate into my person, because I always tell my witnesses, when you get asked a question, either by myself, the other side, or the judge, inhale through the nose and exhale gently through the mouth before you respond. So it allows your brain to connect with your heart and your spirit, because you get nervous when you're testifying. And as you're saying that, and I wrote the quote down, I thought, it's so obvious that works in our own lives and creates that space for positivity to flow.
Yes. Yes. 100%. And the more we do that, the more that then becomes the status quo and the default for us.
I love that. It's just creating, doing the reps, right? You're an athlete. I'm an athlete. It's creating the reps. It's creating the habit so that it becomes a given and it doesn't require so much effort.
Exactly. It creates new neural pathways for that behavior in our nervous system.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh, so many good nuggets already. Whew. I'm excited. I want to switch gears, because I really want to talk about something that you, I would say a milestone that you had in 2024 when you landed a TEDx talk.
Ooh.
And you reached out to me late last year and said, hey, I know you spoke at Own Your Worth, and I know you want to be a speaker. Hey, why don't you? I saw this come up, and I'm so honored and blessed that you did. Even though the answer wasn't a yes this time, it really showed me, it like released in me a hunger. I'm like, oh, I really didn't realize how much I wanted that. And being able to watch your TEDx talk and feel that your pull towards that, I would love for you to just share with our listeners, what, I don't know, share whatever you want to, but I'd really like to get into the meat of your talk. And here's why. Your talk was how to boost your mood, energy, and productivity. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So here we are. It's the middle of January, and I know you're in Florida, right?
Yes. And actually, it turns out to be colder today than usual because we're in the 40s today.
Oh, my goodness. It's 16 here, brother. So
yeah, it's different, but still.
No, but that's really, really cold for Florida. I know. But regardless of the cold, it's darker, the holidays, all the things, right? And so I would love for you to share what your maybe your journey to your TEDx talk, what your talk was about, and how we can, as human beings, boost our energy at a time when energy tends to drop. I'll just let you take it away, because I'm so excited for you that you landed that talk and can't wait for more.
Yeah. So the basis is this, right? The energy is the fuel for our life. It's the fuel for our dreams. It influences every decision we make and actions we take. It is the energy. And having practices that uplift and sustain our energy, it's important. And I came to my TEDx talk to explain and express to people that there is a shortcut to boosting that energy, to boosting that productivity, to boosting that mood, which is known but we take for granted. And that is movement. Just moving our body.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My apologies. Movement is a shortcut to increasing our energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect. It's such a passion of mine as an athlete, and also is just wanting women to live bigger, fuller, more vibrant lives. I'm so passionate about movement. So tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me all the
The
things.
the science supports it, right? Because when I'm moving my body, it's kind of like when you just had a good workout, right? Going
Mhm.
into the workout, you didn't want to do it, but after you feel good. And when we feel good, we do good, right? It's another
Right.
thing that I like to say. So the science supports it because when we move our body, it increases circulation. And by
Mhm.
increasing the circulation, our body warms up. So even in a cold weather, just moving our body warms up our body and helps us in the cold weather. And also, just when we move our body, it releases what I'll call the happy drugs, right? The happy hormones, like the endorphins,
Mhm. I
right?
like
And
happy
that
drugs.
puts us, yes, the happy drugs, made from within, um, increases, you know, our mood. And actually, endorphins, when you break down the morphology of the word, endo is internal, fin. So it's
Mhm.
like internal morphine. And we know the drug morphine is a painkiller.
Right. I just
So
had
even
this
in the,
surgery last year. I was a big fan.
okay, you see, so endorphins is like your body is generating its own morphine, the endorphins, which is not just a painkiller, but also happy hormone because then it puts us in a better mood, and all of that adds up to the energy. Now, there are layers to it. When you get to also move your body in company of others, that also releases serotonin and oxytocin because now you feel connected in community with others.
Mm.
And that's all just multiple layers of that energy boost, right? So, movement truly is medicine for the mind and soul, right? Because it's not just about physical fitness. Like I use the term joyful movement, just moving your body in a way that feels good. Music adds to it too because it triggers different parts of the brain and the neural pathways, and automatically you're getting this big boost. And I know in the Western world for many years there's been a separation of cognitive, right, the mind and the body. and
Mhm.
and I was listening recently to Dr. Gabo Mate, which I love his work so much, and he said it's not mind or body or mind and body. What if we looked at it as mind body, meaning the body is the mind? Like they're
Mm.
not separated. And so things we do with our body through movement is also boosting our cognitive function because
Right.
the boost of circulation, the release of endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, and all of that gives us clear mind, gives us good energy, and we're able to move.
Okay, I love that. I want to jump in because I just did a live in the Girl Out of Order Facebook community, and I decided to just do 5 easy shifts that you can make to blast into 2025 because we get inundated, right, with all the programs and all the gym memberships and all the things at the beginning of the year. And I was like, all right, what if I just broke it down and gave women 5 little things they can do? And I started with movement. And I wanted to tell you this because it just occurred to me as you were talking about like all the benefits of movement is, if we don't move our bodies, every other area of our lives will be less satisfying, less compelling, less vibrant. And as I was sharing in this Facebook Live and in my last episode, I think it was episode 88, it was the number one thing is move your doggone temple. And when I was talking with the women in the live and when I was recording the podcast, I will be honest, you were the person that was in my mind because what I shared with women, and this is where I have there's a question on the other end of this, I promise.
Go ahead.
But what I thought about was you, because so many women, especially, okay, I'm 53, I'm middle aged, and a lot of my tribe is in the middle age or older. And so we haven't developed and created that movement. And so it's really, really freaking hard. And so I shared with them, what if you, even in your chair, you just dance to that one song that when it comes on, you cannot not move? And I was thinking of you. I had you in my mind's eye. And so what my question to you is, if you're speaking to a group as you are right now of, women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and I know I have younger listeners and older listeners, but what are some suggestions for movement that is not like, oh, go join a gym or do yoga or go, run 3 miles, because I think sometimes it can feel so unattainable.
Right. Right. So make it simple, make it fun. Make it simple, make it fun. And depending on physical ability, there's a lot. I have been in coaching sessions with my clients before, and I say, all right, stop, 50 jumping jacks, let's go. Right? Move my hands up, jumping jacks. It's not dense, so it's not a matter of, oh, well, I have 2 left feet. But it is moving your body, and you're getting to boost your mood. Right? That. Something we all do a lot of times, which we take for granted, rubbing those hands together, right? It's
I hope you're watching this on YouTube, because we're running.
Yes,
we're running.
exactly.
We're rubbing our hands.
We're rubbing. We're moving the hands. It's creating warmth. Ooh, that feels good, right? Also, something that I've done many times, and many of us may know, is your earlobes.
What about your earlobes?
So the earlobes have very sensitive nerve endings. When you use your finger, your index finger and your thumb, to just rub it, that warmth feels good and wakes you up. It gives mental clarity.
I never thought of that.
Yep.
That's wild, my friend.
So that's 3. Something we've also seen, a friend of ours that we know, and I give him credit for it, Brian Bradley, he calls the greatest abdominal exercise,
Oh, yes.
Heads up, and then, like swings the arm. So that's giving you core strength, that with the hand, and, just there. That's a quick movement, But if for whatever reason you can do nothing else, just jumping up. Right? So
I really hope you're watching this on YouTube, because Damilare is such a joy to watch. I want to just do everything you're doing, because it makes me feel energetic.
All of that. Thank you. I it's for me, which it's a whole different conversation, is I privilege experience more than information. And so it's easy to give people information. It's much harder, but better to create an experience for them. And so if you were just watching us on YouTube, I hope you got up and moved as well. And if you're listening, do the movement as well. And
unless you're driving.
Correct. Unless you're driving. Pull over and do the movement. But so, and also to other things that we do in our day to day, like, take a walk, do a yoga, all of that stuff. But if physical exercise seems out of reach, then we have that, rubbing the hands together. We have the ears, just to stretch and breathing, right? So just stretching and breathing, a simple shift. And I think, what's important to emphasize is it's good to have those energy resets that we're able to use. It's even much more important to build it into our routine.
Right. I think you and I were texting about that recently, about, how can we build into our routine what we need to boost our energy?
Yes. Movement as your morning boost or your jump start, as your afternoon pick me up, and as your evening de-stressor. Right? And so just having that, a simple 3 to 5 minute routine. When I wake up, I stretch, I do some jumping jacks, or I just, roll my hands, whatever it is, get going. In the afternoon, I'm having a brain fog, something is going on, and I take a couple of deep breaths, roll my hands together, whatever, another jumping jacks, back in the game. And in the evening, just some more calm stretch, And also something which is important is just touch yourself, give yourself a hug, and part of it calms, it calms the nervous system. So it depends on your outcome for the movement, a much more high energy or a much more relaxing internal boost. But either way, it still clears your mind and gives you and feels good. And when we do good, we feel good. When we feel good, we do good.
There you go. Exactly. Another thing that you had said when we were talking was that energy is your power. Yeah. Tell me what you mean by energy is your power.
So energy is the fuel for the dreams, right? I started to talk about that earlier on, getting into this. And there's a difference between force and power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Force is that push, trying to get things done. Power is that more deep, authentic knowing of just like this feels inherent. And
Mm.
energy is that power. It's like from within, right?
Yeah.
Because with that energy, we can drive ourselves to do the actions that we want for our goals, to be present in our relationship,
Mm-hmm.
to be present for ourselves, to just, enter life with joy. Right. And something that I would share with your audience, Christine, I'll give to you is kind of like an energy audit, right? Is paying attention to what are the things in my life that boost my energy and what are the things in my life that deplete my energy,
Hmm.
right? Because we just talked about movement as a quick way to boost your energy. That goes without saying. Sometimes even just a conversation with someone, a connected conversation with someone can boost our energy because
Right.
there's physical energy, there's emotional energy, there's intellectual energy, there's spiritual energy, there's sexual energy, and all of those is coming back to our nervous system, right? All of those in one way or the
Mm.
other are triggering something internally for us to generate that energy. So
Right.
using myself as an example, I can experience emotional energy when I have a connected experience with someone, either through a conversation or that, and that makes me feel good. And when I feel good, I'm elated, and then now I'm ready to go, right?
Right.
Or intellectually, we're talking about something that really lights me up, like, oh my gosh, I love that topic. This is really
Mm.
great. That again generates that energy where I'm more present, right? And of course,
Mm.
sexual energy too. All the hormones are at play, like and then it drives action. And same too, spiritual energy. If it's something that is aligned with who we believe, and we know that we are all souls and spirit, and whatever it is, that also too can create some kind of energy vibration too. But keeping it within what is practical for people right away. Think about the things in your life, in my
Mm.
life. Here's an example. And so for me, I created this what I call the energy audit that breaks down things to look at. One, my personal and professional interactions. How does the task and responsibilities of my day, as well as the people that I interact with, do they boost my energy or do they deplete my energy?
Mm.
Because knowing that allows me to reorganize my day based on my energy bandwidth.
Right. Right.
That's one. The other thing too is physical activity. We just talked about movement, right? Movement is not just about health. It helps boost the energy. And so how much of movement is already incorporated in my day? Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
food and water, right?
Oh,
So
hang on. I got to get my lemon water here.
thank you. I just have plain water here, but I'll get a drink of water too.
Ugh. This is from Fiji.
There
I've
you
been
go.
doing lemon water ever since then. I never used to like it, but there's something about it. And even if it's just a habit, sometimes it's just those habits, those things that we just do, and we know that we can keep a promise to ourselves,
Yep.
especially with water for sure.
Yep. So hydration and nutrition, right? We all know, if you're here in the US listening, after that Thanksgiving meal, everyone wants to take a nap,
Right.
right? Or big holiday meals. Because in a way, what happens actually, if I can say a little bit about that, is then when we eat that food, the body deploys all the resources of internal energy to try to digest and break down that food. And so now we have less energy available for other mental, emotional activity.
Right. Yeah, because people will. I know that in some of Tony Robbins conferences will say, "Well, what boosts your energy?" And people will say food, and then he'll use that example of Thanksgiving dinner. He's like, "Yeah, but really, it's not. It's not food boosts energy, but maybe the right food choices."
Yep. Yeah. Maybe the right food choices, and it was part of what we also learned in Fiji, right? Looking at the living foods, right? Food that boosts,
Right.
and and I'm plant based, but I'm not gonna sell plant based on your podcast. But what's important is whatever nutrition style that we choose, making sure that we're noticing how our body interacts with that and how that is contributing to the energy we feel on a day-to-day basis. Very, very important. Right. So I will share the other guide with you. I'm not going to go through everything in it, but the key thing is yes, the secret, the quick interrupt to boosting our energy, our mood, and productivity is movement. That always works. And as we have that as an energy reset toolkit and continue to build our lives, we want to pay attention to our routine, our day-to-day things that
Mm-hmm.
boost and put our energy so that it's not always I would say, fire brigade approach of I need energy now, but then creating a life where energy is readily available to us at each time.
I love that. Would you say that energy is a habit?
Of course. Of course, without a doubt, without a doubt. And let's break down what habit is, right? So a habit is just something that we've repeated many times as part of our behavior that's become part of us. We've created a neural pathways for it, and I gave examples earlier on how some things when we do over time, our brain, our nervous system creates a neural pathway for it, and that becomes the default.
Mm-hmm.
So when we've created routines and mode of behavior in our life that consistently generate energy, then it becomes a habit, right? My emotional state, my emotional home, as Tony Robbins will call what's an emotional home. My emotional home is joy. Even in the hardest and difficult periods of my life, my nervous system is saying, damn liar, how do we get back to joy?
Right.
Right? And we talked about that earlier in the podcast, right? Like the gratitude, reframing circumstances, focusing on progress and not perfection, changing the meaning, all of that helps us reframe the situation. We get into a positive state where we can then take more action, more focused action on the situation. We're in control, then we feel good because we're making progress. And now that becomes a habit, a pattern in our lives. And so we're living in that joy and energy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it brought me back to, you and I both did Date with Destiny as participants in December. And it brought me back to and I've talked on this podcast a number of times about your primary question. And when we were talking before the podcast, I had said, struggling with scarcity mindset, like how can I have, do, be enough? Well, that's a terribly unresourceful primary question, which I then turned around to how can I more fully experience and enjoy God's abundance in every area of my life? And I share that because I would love to know your primary question. I suspect it has something to do with joy.
Funny enough, yes, and more than that. So my most recent primary question was how can I express the joy and light in me even more in this moment?
Mm-hmm. Which I love.
Which I loved to. And it's now evolved into how can I embody God's divinity in me even more in this moment? Or I would say, how can I embody and express God's divinity in me even more in this moment? And
Mm.
so that expands it beyond the joy and the lights to joy, light, love, abundance, all that is divine, right? Because depending on what we believe, God is in me, I am God, I am here on earth as an extension of the God essence, the God consciousness. And so living in alignment all the time allows me expand to all of that. And it's more than joy, it's more than light, it's more than like love, all of it together. And so how can I embody and express God's divinity in me even more in this moment?
I love that. Yeah. And as we were doing our primary question, adding in the even more me is like more fully. It's assuming that it's already happening because, like you said earlier, when we were talking before we started recording, your brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what you're manifesting or thinking. I'm not sure if I said that correctly.
Yeah,
And it's like, how can I experience it more in this moment? It's that assumption that it's already there, that it's done, that it is real, and that it is part of your DNA and who you are. And I love that.
absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for asking that. Yeah, it's the first time I've shared that publicly to anyone else. That
Oh,
was not that was not part of an activity that we were doing or something like that too. But I truly believe it. I truly believe it.
I
Yeah.
love that. And just kind of coming in hot here at the end. Um, I have a final question that I'm going to get to that I love asking my guests. But before we say that, what would you say in who you are right now is your primary mission?
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
I didn't prepare you, but
You
I
did
want
not
to hear what
prepare
just
me.
flows right out of you.
You did not prepare me. I know the answer. I know the answer. And I'm gonna preface it by saying it's also a word that has been thrown around a lot. However, I'm still gonna go ahead and say it because it's who I am. And I'm a healer. I'm a healer. My primary mission
Mm,
here in the world is to spread healing, to facilitate healing, right? That's it. That's it in a nutshell, to facilitate healing. And that comes in multiple ways through multiple modalities. I do that through coaching, I do that through leading dance and movement, I do that through interpersonal relationships with people, I do that through speaking, I do that through radiating God's love, light, energy, positivity
mm.
through me. And it's really really to heal. That's all of it comes down to that.
I absolutely love that. And that is a lot. I mean, I guess I've never really thought about it that way, but that really is the essence of Girl Out of Order, is to help heal women from the past traumas and expectations and boxes that they've been put in or put themselves in, to set them free, right? To set the captives free and to be used by God.
Yeah.
And I see you, my friend, being used by God in so many ways. You've already been used by God in my life to even open my eyes to even greater possibilities. And that is in its essence healing, right? Growth is what we talk a lot about, but there's no growth without healing.
Yes,
I don't
absolutely,
believe.
absolutely, absolutely. And maybe I would expand that to say healing is part of growth,
Yes.
right? So they work in tandem. They work in tandem.
Yes. No, I love that. I love that. So, okay. So I have one final question and you can answer it any way you want. Shamelessly ripped it off from one of my favorite podcasters, Jen Hatmaker. It's from Barbara Brown Taylor's, where she got it. I did not come up with this, but I love the answers because really I just want people to get to know you. You can answer it funny. You can answer it serious, answer however you want. Without thinking too much, what is saving your life right now?
Joy.
Joy. See?
Yes, joy. That's an easy answer. And actually, because joy gives me resilience. And
Mm,
that's the word that I've not used. I don't think I've used at all today in the podcast, resilience. Because it's that faith and belief that we will always come back home to joy. And so we can have joy in the journey.
I love that. And the thing about joy versus happiness is it's just not circumstance specific.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And it's
nobody
within.
can
It's
feel it.
within you. Ah!
I 1,000% agree. And you emanate joy, my friend. You emanate, you radiate, you bring joy. And as somebody who has struggled to be more positive, you're making an impact on my life. And I know that you are on so many others. And I'm so excited for what's next for you. So, to that end, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you and what you're working on?
Absolutely, yes. So my website is joy, duh, joyinsideout.com. So joy from the insideout.com. So there you can find everything I'm working on, from speaking for corporate organizations and team building exercises and workshops to individual coaching to group coaching. So there you can find that. You could also find details about my weekly movement classes, what I've called the joyful movement classes. So it's a combination of movement with inspiration and affirmations that currently, and the time may change, but you always find it on my website. That currently is Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern time. You can find that there. I'm on all the social media, though I tend to be more active on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube as well. So you just, search my name, Damilare Adeyeri, and you'll find me there.
And just so you listeners know, all of these links will be in the show notes. Please, please check out my friend. This is one of those human beings that the first time I ever saw you on stage, I thought that person needs to be my friend. And I'm so grateful for your friendship. First and foremost, I'm grateful for your inspiration. And I just feel like 2025, I feel very confident this is going to be an expanded, exciting, joyful, productive year of growth for both of us. And I'm so excited for what it holds.
Thank you. Thank you. And actually, I feel a really, really strong leading to say this, so I will, is that there is no joy without love. They work together. And I say that because to experience joy, there is the love for life, love for self, love for the people that you care about, love for the things you do. That generates joy. And love itself is what heals. So there we go.
Oh, what a perfect ending. Thank you so much for coming on, my friend. I can't tell you how much I've loved our conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yay! That was so good. And I'm glad we had the conversation ahead of time.
Yes.
I felt like it's sort of just set the stage